Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Israel Brief, where I look so forward to joining you guys from all around the world, where we take a deep dive into the top stories making the headlines in Israel. We do it every Monday to Thursday. So if you are from Brisbane in Australia, right up to Sweden, to my friends in Calgary and Montreal and Trinidad and Tobago and Kenya and Ghana and South Africa and Israel and everywhere in between, welcome to it. As always, on a Thursday, I bring you your choices of mensches and morons of the week. And this week we've got like quite an eclectic bag, so it's going to be an interesting one. I take your audience question, and I remind you that it is day 783 since the 7th of October. I'm still wearing this because we still have 2 hostages whose remains are being held in Gaza, and we are not going to stop until the last one has come home. So with that said, let's get into the top story, and this is quite extraordinary. You know, earlier this week, Israel launched a counter-terror operation in the north part of Judea and Samaria. And over the last couple of days, both the ISA, that's the Shabak, and the IDF have conducted raids. They imposed a curfew, and they have arrested about 60 wanted fugitives. Now, what is quite amazing is that according to the chief of the IDF's Central Command, the Brigadier General Avi Bluth, speaking to Israel's Channel 12's Amit Siegel, who said, "I don't recall a time when there are no fugitives in the West Bank, that, basically any wanted fugitive has either been arrested or eliminated." So this is absolutely incredible, and I think that everybody can have a good night's sleep, can breathe a sigh of relief that these wanted fugitives have been caught one way or the other. Turning now to events in the Gaza Strip, and the Red Cross and Hamas are, according to Al Jazeera, which of course is the Qatari-sponsored broadcaster, they say that searches have commenced for what they call the remains of a fallen, abducted Israeli soldier. Now, there are only 2 hostages, 2 deceased hostages left in the Gaza Strip. One is Sundisak Rantalak, who is a Thai national. He was one of the workers on one of the kibbutzim in the south when he was murdered and his body taken captive. And the other is that of police officer Ran Gvili. Now, Ran, who bravely fought off terrorists on the 7th of October and was injured in the arm and in the leg, he bravely fought off terrorists who tried to get into kibbutz Alumim, and he was killed in combat and his body taken captive. Ron, who was actually not well at the time, he had injured his shoulder, and when he heard what was going on, he took it on his own initiative to head down and defend those communities. Now, his family spoke earlier this week to Kan, that's the Israel national broadcaster, and they said that nobody seems to know where his remains are, and that their greatest fear is that he becomes like Hadar Golden, whose remains are held for over a decade, or Ron Arad, if you recall Ron Arad, who was a pilot who was shot down during one of Israel's subsequent wars, and whose remains have been held for decades. In fact, to this day, nobody knows exactly where the remains of Ron Arad are. So we continue to use our voices, we continue to pray, we continue to work for the return of the remains of Ran Gvili and Sandisak Grintalak. May they be brought home for a dignified burial. It is no great secret that Israel and the United Nations do not enjoy the greatest of relationships. In fact, most of us think that the UN basically exists as a whipping post for Israel. But something quite historical has happened. For the first time, Israel has been elected to the United Nations Industrial Development Board. Now, in a statement released by Israel's Ministry of Foreign Affairs, they said Israel will bring tremendous value to sustainable industrial development worldwide, that we have superb technologies, as everybody knows, in things like helping to stop climate breakdown, helping to end hunger, as well as looking at ways to improve sustainable supply chains. Israel has the know-how, and this is what we do best. We contribute to the world. And finally, Australia, you're looking more and more like the Aussie I know and love so much. Australia has designated the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps as a state sponsor of terror. Now, this is following reports from Australian intelligence who have accused Iran of carrying out some horrific anti-Semitic attacks in the country, including the arson attacks at a Melbourne synagogue, as well as an arson attack at a Sydney-based nursery. This is the best of the relationship between Australia and Israel, where the two intelligence services work closely together, and the result of this, so this could see heavy sanctioning of any members of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, any financing and any activities carried out by them. So Australia, you're proving mateship yet again. So those are your top stories. It's been a relatively quiet news day, and as I often say, I worry when the news is quiet, because quiet means something big is coming down the pike. Nevertheless, let's take a look at your question of the day, and it comes from Rosalind in Sydney, staying with Australia, who says, is there any story about Israel that has not made news? Now, I think it was about 2 weeks ago I spoke about the fact that, Israel is a country beyond the conflict, that we have many different amazing elements. And one thing I forgot to mention, and I'm so glad, Roz, that you asked this question, is that I forgot to speak about sports. I forgot to speak about the fact that this year we have seen Israel really achieving in so many different varieties of sport, whether it's bobsledding. I kid you not, guys, we have a bobsledding team. They were on the podium the other day. I think they got either silver or bronze. In jiu-jitsu, in fencing, in gymnastics, in tennis, in Paralympic dancing, in Paralympic tennis. In so many areas, Israeli sports people are achieving, and we don't talk about it enough, and it's something I'm really, really proud of. And if you want to follow the Israeli sports scene, there's a wonderful Facebook page. It's called Follow Team Israel, and you can see there all our notable achievements. So naughty Roro, and I'm glad, Rose, you asked that question, because you gave me an opportunity to talk about Israel's sporting prowess. Who'd have thunk it? And now for the moment of the week you guys love, and that is your mentions and your morons. So I'm going to get on my soapbox a little bit, but first let's get to the mentions of the week, because I've got a lot to say about the morons. And one of the recommendations, and this is really, really great, is Taryn Thomas. Now, Taryn Thomas was interviewed, I think it was during the course of this week, by the Free Press, and I really, really urge you all to go onto YouTube after you've watched the Israel Brief, of course, and look for the Free Press YouTube channel. And it's an interview called I Was a Pro-Palestinian Activist Until I Heard the Truth. It's like something like that. And they interview Taryn Thomas, who speaks about how she was part of these encampments on campus, and how she went to the Nova Festival exhibition, and her eyes were opened up, and she learned the reality of what happened on the ground, and she learned the facts, and she felt that facts were withheld from her. I'm not going to spoil it for you guys, but I really, really urge you go give that a listen. So that's a really great nomination. The other nomination coming in is for the GHF, the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. This week I told you that they had come to the end of their handing out of humanitarian aid, their incredible success, their historical success in the Gaza Strip, and they are well worth the nomination. So thank you for nominating them. They managed to hand out over 187 million individual meals to civilians in Gaza, straight to them peacefully. They've come to the end of their mission. We are eternally grateful. Thank you, Reverend Johnny Moore, who's a proud Zionist, very proud supporter of Israel, and thank you for the work that you and your extraordinary team have done. And my recommendation for the Mentors of the Week, this week I have been busy working on an article for the JNS. It's called October the 7th, the voices of women, and specifically women on the front line. And I've had the opportunity of hearing the incredible stories of our female reserve soldiers, including many of the females who served in places like Shura, the Camp Shura, helping to identify fallen soldiers, soldiers who were at the Nova Festival and the Kibbutzim in those first hours and days following the attacks, listening to their testimonies of what they saw. They are extraordinary women. I'm so humbled and proud that we have women of this caliber that are part of our country and serve in our defense forces, who do incredible work. Combat soldiers, reserve soldiers, all female. Really, really, thank you, ladies. You really represent the best of us. And now for our morons, and guys, you're going to want to hold into your hats for this, because I think I'm about to go off on some of these. So the first nomination is actor Guy Pearce. Aussies, you might know him as Mike from Neighbours. He's the dude from Minority Report. And throughout the last 2 years, he really has been one of these Hollywood know-it-alls who's been extremely anti-Israel, extremely, I'm not even going to say pro-Palestinian, because in my opinion, if you're pro-Palestinian, you are anti-Hamas and you advocate for the end of Hamas. But Guy Pearce took to Twitter the other day, or X, whatever you want to call it, and he retweeted something from Al Jazeera, who we know is the mouthpiece of Hamas. And his little byline at the top, he said, basically he's disgusted by Israelis. He says he's never been more disgusted in his life than by Israelis. And he went off on this whole tangent. I mean, we don't even know what the backstory of this is. We know that Al Jazeera, which is banned across the Middle East, including by the Palestinian Authority, are not above some real propaganda hit pieces. But Guy Pearce managed to tar a whole people. And then he doubled down by regramming, I think that's the right word when you reshare Instagram, saying all Zionist Israelis are this, including using horrible pejoratives, are calling us the P word. And I'm not going to say it on this broadcast because it'll get me another restriction, and we don't want any of that. But using that terminology, I think we've passed from Guy Pearce going from anti-Israel to straight out a Nazi propagandist. So Guy Pearce, you are really a moron of the week. The other moron of the week is Paul Weller, who didn't get the memo that there's a ceasefire. He's part of a group of artists called Artists Against Genocide. It's unbelievable how they don't seem to find their voices or their musical prowess for the genocide of Christians and Druze in Syria, the genocide of Christians in Nigeria, the genocide of Christians and non-Muslims in Darfur, the genocide of Christians and non-Muslims in Mozambique, the genocide of Uyghur Muslims in China. You guys get my drift. But for the false genocide of the Palestinians in Gaza, which the ICJ has ruled as not even plausible, that it's a genocide, which we know doesn't fit the determination of what's a genocide, and their sheer ignoring of the atrocities of the 7th of October, one Mr. Paul Weller, yes, another irrelevant artist, has decided that he is going to withhold his music from Israelis. Well, Paul, speaking as an Israeli and a music lover, I just want to thank you for that, because now my ears do not have to be polluted with the sounds of bigotry. So thank you for that. I notice your voice has shut up for real genocides around the world, but thank you for that. I don't have to subject myself to your sanctimonious bigotry. So you can follow your own advice and kindly foxtrot Oscar. And the last, we've got two more, because I've got another recommendation from you guys earlier. Another recommendation, and guys, you're going to want to break out your teeny tiny violins for this one, is Miss Palestine, fresh off the Miss Universe competition where she paid her way in. Miss Palestine, who incidentally was born in Canada, raised in Jordan, and lives in Dubai, and also was married to one of the Barghouti clans who was a wanted terrorist. That Miss Palestine went on a moaning fest on social media because, guys, get this, you're gonna feel for her, you really are. She was supposed to win the popular vote as the most beautiful, as voted by the public. But something went wrong, and Miss Tanzania was voted the prettiest by the public. She was robbed, I tell you, robbed of being voted the prettiest. It's a great injustice, she says, because, Palestine should be the issue of the moment. So in other words, you are penalized if you don't mention Palestine, because it's all everybody should focus on, and when in doubt, always vote Palestine. Well, Miss Palestine, the world's teeniest violin, has come out for the fact that you weren't voted the prettiest. My God. And lastly, ultra-lefty Peter Baynard, who, you can't make this up, guys, who has long advocated a boycott of Israel, and he's called Israel all kinds of names like apartheid state and colonizing state and genocidal state. He decided he was going to come to Israel to speak to Israelis at the University of Tel Aviv and help them understand why he thinks there's a genocide in Gaza. And today he issued this groveling apology to BDS and the pro-Palestinian movement for offending them for coming to Israel. Now, I have a few takes. First of all, I grew up during the apartheid years in South Africa. And let me tell you something, PT. During the apartheid years, if you were a dissenting voice, you were not given free rein to say whatever you wanted at one of the universities. You would have faced incarceration or worse. Also, PT, I'm sure while you were here, you met with former hostages, you met with injured soldiers, you went down south to bear witness. Didn't you, Peter? Didn't you? And I'm sure somebody of your stature would have had the horrible privilege of watching those 47 minutes that the IDF keep under lock and key because it's so damn traumatic, but I'm sure you would have wanted to have borne witness. Also, PT, you came into our country and you took advantage of the respect that we still have for academic freedom and the freedom of speech, and you kicked it in in the stomach, and you issued this groveling opinion and this groveling apology. And I hope you've learned a very, very valuable lesson. I hope you've learned the lesson that we've all told you for many, 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 many years, that you will never, ever be good enough for the anti-Jewish brigade. They will hate you no matter what. You sanctimonious beep. So we're going to leave it there, guys. And I'm going to hop off my soapbox to wish you all a wonderful weekend and a Shabbat Shalom. And don't forget to check out our website at www.layoftheland.online. Our YouTube channel is here at the Israel Brief. Guys, we do have people from the opposite side trying to restrict us. So if you see us, please hit that subscribe button. Please watch the videos and please share. Let's get ahead of those trying to silence us. We're on Facebook at Lottel's site, on Instagram at Rolene_Marks, on LinkedIn and Substack at Rolene Marks. And guys, God bless you all. Have a wonderful weekend. Shabbat Shalom. Roro over and out. Until next Monday. Bye for now.